in cell block D. Prisoners who are dead must report any change of status to their nearest prison officer. Violations will result in a penalty of 5 Gruel credits. Attention. Report all incidents immediately. So, on A road, supply requested in Shan 3. Announcement. Visitor badges must be on at all times. Thing.
One of the little quirks of Gold Source, when Half-Life first shipped and mods for Half-Life were new, was that getting music into a mod, into the Gold Source engine, wasn't really possible. The music for Half-Life shipped on the disc. It was on the CD. And as you'd play the game, the disc would be spun up, and the game would fire off to play some music, and it would pick a track from the CD. It was a dual burnt CD. It had music on one half and data on the other. So if you wanted to have high quality music, you couldn't put an MP3 on there. MP3s were new. Napster was a thing. Like they were a new thing in the world of technology and consumerism. So if you wanted to have music in your Half-Life level, you put it in a wave, and it was compressed down to 8-bit mono, and it sounded absolutely terrible. Now, because Half-Life played the music off the CD, you couldn't distinguish between what CD was in the drive. It would just play a track from whatever disc happened to be in there. And back then, I shipped a mod called Big Lolly. And a year or so after it shipped, I got an email from a guy who had played it. He said he really loved the game. He loved using the giant lollipop to smash gingerbread men, but he was even more excited that the game featured a soundtrack to AC/DC. And isn't it amazing that AC/DC's his favorite band too? I never had the heart to tell him he just left his CD in the drive.
Personnel report to cell block E. Intercom. Repair services requested in processing facility.
really do think that playing with expectations is one of the best ways to make games interesting. And playing with those expectations brings out interesting emotions in the player. The elevator ride here is a place where often you'd see someone set up a cheap scare with some baddies or some kind of trap in the elevator. And I chose not to do it. It seemed like a great place to crank the tension and suspense to 11, and at the same time give the player some downtime and a breather from all the action. Inaction can be just as interesting as action, and the uneasiness created in the player waiting for the elevator ride and the unknown at the end of it is what I think makes a really interesting emotional response. It's one of these sections in a game where I think if a producer or publisher were to look at it, or if a playtesting group from your publisher were to run through the area, you'd get back some lame bug about how nothing's going on here and it's boring and why would I just want to sit there? There's no action. And they would be missing the whole point, which is that there isn't any action, and that's what makes it interesting. At least I think that makes it interesting. You can't be shooting people in the face every second of the whole game. Or maybe you can, I don't know. Maybe it's a sign that I'm a bitter old game dev.
Announcement. Improper operation of exercise blocks will result in elimination of accumulated reward credits.
I love fucking detailing spaces like this. You have so many opportunities in the ceilings to create a story and make the environment feel bigger than it actually is. You'll see a lot of spaces where people just kind of cap off the top of a room and move on in the way that they've detailed an area. I love like adding all these different little pipes and ductwork and telling a story with it. In the next hallway, there's this whole sense that there's a larger system of catwalks and passageways. The facility is much more grand than the player is experiencing themselves. And making these areas gives you all these amazing little problems to solve. The light streaming in through the windows above is a complete hack. It's like the biggest fucking hack in the universe. There's actually no light, of course, on the other side of the windows, and the windows are just illuminated by emissive panels of geometry hanging in front of the windows. And the God rays shooting through are a separate set of geometry, and the reflection of light on the opposite side of the wall isn't even run by the lighting pass in the engine. It's a separate sheet of polygons that are ever so slightly glowing to give the illusion that the light has come through the window. And I love figuring out all these different ways to make those things come to life. And that's what makes spaces like this so exciting to work on. You can create a living world that the player can pass through.
Requested in subsection T4. Control. North Cock. Announcement. Prisoners reporting cell. Receive 10.
The guard room here is an example of loopback gameplay, which is essentially a way to telegraph to the player where they can go before they actually go there. And and it's also a way to give the player tools to orient themselves in the universe in which they're playing. So here the player can see into the guard booths, into some of the areas they're going to get access to,